And this is where we go.
It still throws me.
We start. I know. Starting now.
We're starting.
This is our intro.
We're doing it.
1 minute. We're on the service road.
This is just to let people know we're on the on-ramp. We're on the service road now.
Yep.
We're getting on the on-ramp.
On-ramp is that last little kick, and that's where
that.
and then you have to speed up traffic because you have to adjust to traffic.
Yeah.
Traffic doesn't adjust to you, Neil.
Are we supposed to tell people in the intro now what this is about?
I think
feel like we're supposed to.
We do the last 2 seconds.
It's okay.
What are we talking about, Neil?
This entire month of February is Black History Month.
Correct.
And you and I are not just going to sit here and talk about that. We have.
Yeah, that's what Black History Month needs. Two white guys talking.
No, they don't. They do not. We have got help today.
Yeah,
I'm actually really, really excited
pumped.
about this. Aaron Whitfield is going to be. Am I allowed to say spoiler? Is this too soon for that?
Oh, it's not too soon.
We're going to have Aaron Whitfield in here. He's brilliant. We'll talk a little bit more about him in a little bit. But Black History Month is important.
Educator, leader, speaker.
Oh
all
my
around,
gosh.
awesome dude.
Yeah. And hilarious.
Oh,
got a good sense of humor. He's amazing.
Hey, how's it going? Welcome to the Tyler and Neil Explain Everything podcast. Now officially your fourth favorite podcast. Hit the subscribe button and make sure you go to patreon.com/explain everything to get exclusive episodes. Looks like we made it.
How will we know when we've made it? Like, what will be the indicator?
I don't know that we get to say that.
So others get to decide.
Other people have to tell us.
Where would they say it? Would they say it in the comment section of patreon.com?
No, they would say it by subscribing to
patreon.com/explain everything.
Yes.
Yeah, and saying, like, this is worth one avocado a month to get double the fun. Gosh, I'm so glad we don't promote it. Like,
avocados from California. Where are they from?
From California. Do you remember I don't know where they're from. I'm moving on from this. Do you remember the name of the show that I made up, the podcast, Avocados on Avalanches? What was it?
Actors eating avocados on avalanches.
Yeah, that's a new show.
Uh-huh.
Seinfeld's done. Can we start it?
He is done. B-movie, Cassidy and I just watched it the other day.
Is it good?
B-movie is, the animation is terrible, but the story is amazing.
Okay.
It's pretty smart.
I won't watch it.
It's brilliant.
I'm sorry, I'm not a soup.
Speaking of brilliant.
No soup for me. Oh. Hey, speaking of brilliant, we need to bring our guest on. We're talking about Black History Month, and we have just one of the best all-around dudes.
Honestly, he is.
He really is.
Yeah. I learned from him. So you follow him on social media.
Yeah,
as well,
and him and I is a Gemini. Just kidding. Him and I is a Gemini. I am a Gemini, just so in case you know, Neil. And that's probably why you see whatever. We need to call him, and I'm rambling. I did some conferences and some speaking stuff last summer, and Aaron was kind enough to spend his time and expertise. Yeah. Got him on there. He talked about a lot of stuff and shared his wisdom with us, and it was really good. He was an awesome speaker, and
smart.
I wish that every school and company in the country would have him come speak, because dude is what is it? Is it a wealth of knowledge or breadth of knowledge?
He's a wealth of knowledge.
Is it called a wealth of knowledge?
Yeah, I don't think it's a breath of knowledge.
No,
it's a breath of fresh air.
No, it's like with the D in there.
The width and breadth.
Breadth, like that's a term.
He's the breadth of knowledge.
No, that's not it.
No,
there's a thing, and there's a saying with that word. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Call Aaron. Get me.
I'm going to call Aaron.
I'm kicking myself.
I'm going to call Aaron right now. This is what you call a good get. To have him on the show is it's a good pickup. It's like, hey, we're cutting Matt Damon out of the talk show. We're bringing Aaron in. Here he is. We'll get him on here in a second.
I love that the ring's on there.
That's the sound.
I feel like I'm
a
prank caller. Is what I feel like when that happens.
Like you're nervously about to call into a pizza shop.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Hey,
Aaron, what's up, man?
Nothing much. How are y'all doing?
Oh my gosh,
so good. It's so good to hear your voice, man. How have you been?
Life is all right. It's cold, as you know, most of the country, at least this portion of the country is cold. We still have snow, but it's beautiful. I mean, I can't complain. We have life, and so I'm not going to complain too much about life because I'm so happy.
I love it. Hey, and you're in Ohio, correct? Still?
Yeah.
Could I interest you in moving away from there to Arkansas?
Say no.
Because it's less cold here. You don't have to live there, bro. Come hang out with us.
Oh my gosh.
Listen, I will come and hang out with y'all, and we will have excellent barbecue, because the one time I was in Arkansas, the barbecue was absolutely wonderful. And so I may gain like 20 pounds in living out there, but I will come and stay with y'all in Arkansas.
Everybody's doing it. I'm doing it.
Gaining 20 pounds.
Yeah. It's a new thing. Yeah. I mean, gain 20 pounds, 10 pounds of barbecue sauce, and 10 pounds of meat. So I mean, yeah, I'll take it.
Put some fried okra on it, and I'm in.
But you're okay, Aaron. You're running, right? Are you still practicing for the marathon?
Yeah, I'm still practicing for the marathon.
Training. I don't know what you call it. It's not practicing.
You don't practice like you're practicing piano.
Training, yeah.
It's mentally practicing and some training. But yeah, I'm still at it every night. 5 nights a week. I have a training schedule.
You posted a photo the other day right after that snowstorm had hit, and you put like the temperature on there and the wind chill and your face out there. I was like, that's dedication.
Yeah.
It's like snow's up to your knees and you're out there running. Tell people where. So first of all, I don't know. We wanted to put part of this in here just to let people know where they can follow you, what you have done. One of the best things that you do is your podcast. It's called Semi-Social Life of a Black Introvert. I know you and I've said this. Your voice is one of the most soothing voices. And I'm not just talking about like your pitch and your tone. I'm talking about what you're talking about. Is like, oh, wow. This guy is incredibly deep, but also that combined with the sound of your voice is unreal. And you just you're well past 100 episodes, right?
I am. I'm almost like, when I look back, I'm not almost 214, 15 episodes. I've somehow surpassed it and didn't celebrate it. So I need to celebrate my, this accomplishment.
Unbelievable.
That's awesome. That's the thing I've found with a lot of people start creating content. They quit. There's the internet's littered with people's accounts that stop doing it, but you're passionate, educated, and hardworking enough to keep it going. And that's awesome, man.
I do it for not only listeners, but also I do it for myself. I mean, podcasting is an incredible way for me to release the thoughts that stay housed in my head. And so I'm able to almost sort them out as I talk about them. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but all the time it's honest. And so, definitely check out my podcast, The Semi-Social Life of a Black Introvert. And I'm sure you will hear some tales that will make you laugh, cry, and everything in between. So, that's what I'm definitely here for.
That's awesome.
I said it first.
You did, yeah. You did.
I said it second.
You did.
I was going to say jinx, but I wasn't in on the jinx. So, I was a little too late.
What was it? We get it was jinx, double jinx, and then you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, banana, and you have to say a fruit. Why do we keep adding?
Who came up with that?
I don't know. Why did everybody do it? You don't know what that is?
No.
Yeah, maybe I was a weird kid.
Southern thing.
Yeah.
How dare y'all?
Banana. Yeah, I never heard of that one, but I'm going to take it. I'll take it. Okay.
Aaron, tell everybody where you're working right now.
I am the program coordinator at The Ohio State University. Now, I have to make sure I say D because that's what they say around here.
I'm so happy. I think we can wrap this show up. I think we did it.
Y'all just had a big win. Y'all just beat the #1 basketball team in the country the other night.
No.
And then had a dunk at the end and everybody rushed, made like 250.
No, Tyler, that was Arkansas.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah. we had a big loss, but it's
did y'all?
But you know what? Here's the deal. We had the Bengals in the Super Bowl. And so, if I am balancing out, what Arkansas teams in the Super Bowl?
None.
Yeah, okay.
None. Okay. Yeah. We didn't even have one in the state. It would have been a really bad year if they're getting in the Super Bowl.
The Little Rock Clintons. I don't know if that's the team.
We need 2 sponsors, and I know 2 people with the last name that would like that. So
we can take it.
That's cool.
All right. So you're at Ohio State. We were talking about Black History Month. We both have the privilege of knowing you, but also when we started talking about this topic, I thought, all right, let's bring somebody in who I have listened to some of your content, a lot of your posts lately. You seem to be very helpful when it comes to telling the stories that maybe aren't necessarily mainstream or the history of Black History Month. All of that, like how did we get here? What are things we need to learn? We just want to have a conversation. There's no like criteria in any of this, but as we look at Black History Month and how it started and how it got here, is there anything? I've got a bunch of stuff we Googled and I've been learning, but I don't know a whole lot about it. Is there anything in that about the history of it, how it got here, that you want to talk about?
Yeah, it started off as I believe it was like Black Negro Week. It was originated by Carter G. Woodson, who we sort of know as like the father, of course, of Black history. In I believe it to be like the mid 1920s. And it was designed more so as a week to celebrate and promote Black folks about, history and culture. But then it just sort of spread. I think Carter G. Woodson, his first initiative, of course, was to teach the people about who you are, not what history, not what American history could sometimes tell you that you are, but who did you come from? What are some of the origins of your culture and some of your stories? And then it just grew and expanded into Black History Month, which, of course, we're celebrating currently now. And so, it took some time from what I've been reading and hearing about, Black History Month. It took a lot of time for America to gravitate toward Black History Month, because it's almost like, why do you need a month?
Yeah.
To celebrate Black history? That's always the question I hear a lot. Why do you need a month? And we need a month because, for so long, and even currently, our history and our stories and our culture is overlooked and just not spoken from a point of truthfulness and honesty. And so Black History Month gives us not only, individuals and people of color, communities of color, opportunity to teach our own, but also for us to share the stories with the greater world. That way, everybody has a sense that Black history has made an incredible impact in not only this nation but across this world.
Yeah, windows and mirrors. See ourselves in the story, and then also other people see us in the story, and that's the thing. We hear that. I hear that every now and then, like, whoa, when's White History Month? Or, that's what their voice sounds like, apparently. Where's the White History Month? And then also, like, why do we need it? It's because so often that story's not told. Like,
yeah.
It's like you don't get to be the first person narrative because other people get to write certain books for so long. And it's like it should be integrated and woven within every American history class you take. But sadly, it's not in a lot of classes. And I know it's almost like it's become a huge controversy in the past, 6 to 10 months, is teachers just teaching about racism or giving the perspective of the history of America from, other people's perspective. And it's a huge frustration of mine whenever people do that. And I'm like, how about you just put yourself in someone else's shoes? But they're like, no, that's one of the privileges. They don't have to. You're like, oh, I don't have to.
Yeah.
Ugh. And I'm sorry, that's just a frustration of mine. I mean, they start complaining.
No, you're right. Because, even if we look in America, in some of our education systems, we don't teach history well.
No.
So not only do we not get Black history correct, but we don't get history. We teach history from a point in which it makes us comfortable.
Yes.
And not from a point in which is, honesty and truthfulness and transparency. I guess that's the word I'm looking for, transparency. And so, Black history doesn't have to be, it should be a celebration of Black culture. Sometimes people focus in on Black history in terms of during the time in which there was enslavement. And yes, that is a part of some of the history of Black people and brown people in this country. But there's also so much more to sort of see. And so, I think we're just scratching the surface when it comes to, teaching about Black history and using some of this momentum to broaden the narrative of Black history in America and around this world.
I didn't realize, so I wasn't sure if this was a United States thing or if this is worldwide or whatever. I've got a buddy of mine that lives in Canada, and I talked with him yesterday, and he's like, no, it's Black History Month in Canada as well. I didn't realize this is in the Netherlands, it's in Ireland, it's in the UK. Some of them actually celebrate that at different times of the year, but I just didn't realize that. So what, and I don't know, you can help me with this. There are a lot of people that are like, well, that's Black History Month, but Black history is American history. And for some reason, we kind of separate those two out. Like it's not a part of it, but I think it is. It's 100% woven through it. But I think it's good to highlight this because we forget a lot of the achievements, a lot of the advancements, a lot of the culture of where we're at today came from there. And I don't know why, but we seem to, as a culture, kind of put this as just off to the side. I think it should all be woven together, taught in schools, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable, because I think, this is where I think some of the, my experience of being Black in America, we either, I feel like I've been either hyper sort of visualized or no one has people overlook me or people see me too much. I think American history and Black history is the same way. If we go out in public, a group of Black people, all eyes are upon you. But yet no one will approach you. I think history is almost looked at in the same vein, in which we have this large chunk of American history over here, but no one wants to approach it. No one, with all eyes, we see that the history is there. We see that, yes, there has been enslavement, there has been wrongs done against people of color, but we don't want to approach it. We rather just remain silent. And I think that is that's another one of the reasons just for Black history. Like, it should be a time of the year in which conversation is sparked. It's not supposed to be a cold blanket, it's not supposed to be that type of a conversation. It's supposed to spark conversation. It's supposed to create relationships and build bonds and teach and educate. All the things that we say that we're about, it's supposed to promote. But if we choose to overlook or to turn a blind eye to it, then this is when we really allow history to repeat itself, not because we don't talk about it.
Because we're nervous or it's awkward or we're uncomfortable or what? Like, we got to get past that.
Yeah.
And we're ignorant, it's nervous,
100%.
awkward, uncomfortable, and the ignorance of not knowing. This is we often like to be the people that know everything in the room, the smartest people in the room. And sometimes it's just okay to learn and to reflect. And so, Black history can do all those things and so much more.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm with you. And I love that it's an emphasis for a month. But again, I wish it was throughout the whole. Like, every time we talk about a chapter in history, why are we not emphasizing these certain aspects? I did a training for some teachers at a school, and I was talking about, talked about critical race theory, talked about, which a lot of people get mixed up with what critical race theory is versus teaching racism in schools, and then also just teaching the history, involving Black people and how this country treated them. And I do this activity where I have everybody in the room. I said, get out some paper. I was like, write out 10 white people you learned about in history classes in school. And these are educators. So some of them are even teaching history. And so they can even think of, like, who would I teach? And they list out 10. Usually it's like presidents, presidents plus Ben Franklin, Then I'm like, okay, name 10 white women. It's like presidents' wives plus Abigail Adams. And that's who they list. And then whenever I get into, all right, name a Black male. And it's Martin Luther King Jr. And then, if they're young, President Obama, because they didn't talk, older ones didn't, because, wasn't until 2008. But it's like Martin Luther King Jr. And then I'm like, all right, name a Black female from history that you learned about. And it's Harriet Tubman, and that's it. And I was like, this is, and then we move on. We talk about people with disabilities, talked about different groups of people. And it's like, you look at that list and it's like, these students are sitting in class, people of color are sitting in class, and even white kids are sitting in class, and they're thinking, oh, I'm the only, people like me are the important people worth talking about in history classes. So you get viewed as the people that built it. When you look at America, who built America? It wasn't the white dude with the all white suit sitting on a horse. You know what I mean? This, we don't give credit where it's due, and then we make people footnotes when they should be the key players, key characters in the story. And it's just, I don't know. I would think we can do better, and I think we're on a road to where people are pushing to do better. It's just, it's hard. Transition's hard for a lot of people, and change is hard, and even just reflecting is hard for a lot of people.
We teach out of comfort, and that's in any, as an educator, I think there is a comfort in teaching, but you have to be willing to go to the places in which real knowledge is expressed, in which real knowledge is gained.
Yes.
One thing is to teach from the book, but there's also a whole lot of information outside of the book based upon your experiences, based upon another book, based upon, you have to broaden the horizon. And so whether it be Black history, whether it be women's history, whether it be American history, it's all taught out of comfort, and we almost want our history wrapped up in almost like like in a gift box with a bow on top of it.
Yeah, we want to be the good guy.
To realize, we want to be the good guys. We want to be the hero. We want to be, we want to project our greatness as opposed to allowing our honesty and our truth and our integrity and our willingness to have conversations to talk about our greatness. We rather just front like we're great as opposed to actually walking in the greatness that we are.
Yep. We just rub lip gloss on the bad stuff. We're like, oh yeah, that was pretty bad. We don't do that anymore. We're good.
Yep.
And it's like,
it's
no.
only 2 pages.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Yeah.
Summarize it and make it sound like it wasn't that bad. Like, I legit remember in a history class, they were like, I remember learning that the reason for the Civil War was just because, they voted for one person for president and they didn't win and they saw they didn't have a voice. I'm like, now growing up, I'm like, that's not, they went to war because they wanted to keep slavery.
Yep.
Oh
like they wanted their power. They wanted to keep using free labor for everything they did. And it's like, it's like we try to justify and get, well, what about this? I'm like, yeah, I get that context where it's like a 2%, but that doesn't outweigh the 98% reason, you know? Nope. I don't know. That's just.
If we examine that time, you know, and it's, you know, because a lot of people talk about slavery and how tough of a topic it is to, you know, converse about. But we examine that time, you know, a lot of discomfort will come, yes, of course, from how, you know, African Americans and Black people were treated during that time, but also, you know, some of those systems that exist that, you know, encourage or that hold white people in poverty back then exist today.
Yep.
You know, it's still the same system. So we will almost have to, it would take a whole lot of reckoning for people to realize that, that this, you know, that this life, yes, we may have a bit of a comfortable life here in America, but some of these systems in place are in place for a reason. And they push upon more people than just Black people. Yep. You know, it's a system. That's part of the system. So, but I still think it can encourage great conversations that we could change some of these systems so that all people can benefit.
I love that.
I didn't realize it. I think this is true. It might not be. There's a theme for every year when Black History Month actually hits. I saw something that said that this year in 2022, it's Black people's health and wellness. Is that true?
Yes. I read that a couple of years ago, and yes, health and wellness is at the forefront. It's one of the things, of course, and within the Black community, especially amongst, you know, Black folks, Black people in their 20s and 30s and 40s, we are really taking strides to address health and wellness, our bodies, our minds, our souls, our spirit, because we live in, as we all know, stressful times. Yeah. And this is almost a new sort of aspect of Black culture and the Black community in which we're recognizing that, hey, we're stressed. Hey, this isn't normal. This type of pressure that we feel isn't normal. This type of emotion should not be normalized. And so now that we're having the conversation around health and wellness, now we are putting systems in place to address, you know, our mental health and our physical health needs. And so it's an exciting time, really a new time to be Black in America, in which there's always the pressure of being Black in America, but there's also ways to handle that pressure in a healthy way as opposed to internalizing it. Now we can actually sort through it by dealing with our health and wellness.
Yeah.
And that's so important.
So I've got a guy here that I've been helping. You and I haven't talked about this yet. You're gonna laugh when I joke around about it. I take a kid. He's a 21-year-old kid here in town, and he needs help. And he's in a rough part of Little Rock, and I've been taking him to get a haircut on a regular basis. So this is gonna sound crazy, but I have been spending a lot of time in a Black barbershop, and Aaron, it might be my new favorite place. So a couple of things happen when I go in there. The first time I walked in there, I'm telling you, every person in this place stopped cutting hair, stopped talking, and turned around and looked at me. And the one guy who was closest to me at the door, he goes, "Hey man, you in the right spot?" And I was like,
"Yes.
Yeah, I'm helping my buddy out here get a haircut." I was like, "Okay." And they totally let me come in. And so what I realized, Aaron, is there is a culture inside of that barbershop that I have never experienced in my life. The music was different. What was on TV, and this is this may be way more than what you want to hear. You know how like smart TVs, they have like their Netflix like suggested playlists and kind of stuff like that. They're up there. In my house, I mean, I've got two girls that live with me, two white girls. It's Gilmore Girls all the time, Aaron. It's the most ridiculous thing. And I go in here, I have never seen the shows that they have scrolling through their suggested playlist before. I'm like, why have I never seen these shows? We started having conversations. I've been there quite a few times, and I went yesterday. I walk in there, and I immediately go, this is a place where I can learn like a lot of stuff about this culture. I had just no idea, but honestly, being in there, like I enjoyed it. It's not intimidating or whatever. The first time it was. Now I love it, and they've been very accepting. But here's the funny thing, and I didn't realize this. I talked to a coach friend of mine, his coach Fitzhill. He said that barbers are actually now being trained to be licensed counselors, because that is where most of the people, these especially black men, are getting their counseling from. And when it comes to health and wellness, they're not going to go sit down with a licensed counselor, but they're going to go get their haircut. And so they're starting to train these barbers to actually help people in their mental health. Have you heard of that?
Yeah. Historically, the barbershops have been a place of meeting for black men. It's in the same way beauty shops are for black women.
Yeah.
You can go into a black barbershop now and yes, there are people there getting their haircut, but also there are just people there for the conversation.
They were there they weren't getting their haircut, Aaron. It was amazing.
Yep. People that haven't had a haircut in years, but yet they're at the barbershop every day or every week, because it's a social gathering. It's a meeting place. It's a meeting of the mind and exchanging ideas in a place in which one of the few places, I think socially, in which there's a brotherhood and a place in which there's safety.
Yeah.
And that is so key. It's rare to see a group of 40, 50 black men in one spot without having, the threat of police.
Yeah.
Or the safe threat of if they were 20 feet out in the middle of the street or on a sidewalk, it would look completely different. And it would be perceived as, but those 20 feet make up so much. And when it comes to safety. And so, and when it comes to barbers, barbers are, for so long, they have been mental health counselors. And so granted, there is a movement for black men and women to go to counseling, and that's definitely increased with the amount of black counselors who are currently enrolled in school and who are operating their own private practices. But for those who don't want to go that more traditional route, you have your barber who is there every week, who's watched you grow, who knows your hair and knows you as an individual.
Take it.
That's good. Yeah, my youngest son, for a while there, for a stretch, I was cutting his hair because he just wanted a mohawk, and that's super easy to do. And so I was cutting his hair, and then I was like, okay, we want to change it up, start doing a fade. And so my buddy Sean recommended a barbershop in town. And so I was like, okay, I went and checked it out. And so I took Finn, and we're sitting there, and Finn's getting his hair cut. And I'm just, hanging out, talking, we're talking about shoes, because I wore some shoes in there we're talking about, and we were chatting, and I was asking some stuff about things they liked. And I noticed Finn was like super into something behind me, and he was like really concentrated on it. And I turned around, there was a TV in the corner playing Django Unchained, Finn's 5. And I was like, oh boy. I was like, not ready for that. And I was
buddy.
I'm thinking, how long has he been watching this?
Oh my
gosh. It was back in the corner. Nobody was even paying attention to it. And I just stood up, and he was like, what are you doing? I go, keeping you from watching that. And he goes, what was it? I go, we'll talk about it later.
That's a whole other conversation.
Yeah. That's a very different conversation.
I'm like, how long have you been watching, buddy? He's like, just for a minute. I was like, okay, good. I'm turning around. I'm like, which part is it? Oh, goodness. But it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Barbershops are incredible. In the barbers that I know, it's you pick their minds, you realize this is more than just hair.
Oh, yeah.
And for the black barbers I know, they can cut white hair.
They offered to cut mine.
Yeah, they can cut white hair, and they do it extremely well because you have to learn that in barber school. Now, on the flip side, white barbers cut the black hair.
Oh,
it's a rare deal.
Yeah,
that a white so they have to know the gamut. They can do eyebrows. They have to know it all for both black and white folks in between. And so there's a certain level of depth at these barbershops that it's amazing.
They're artists, man.
Yeah.
I watch them do things. I'm like, I've never seen scissors like that. I've never seen clippers like that. They legitimately are like creating these masterpieces. They offered me yesterday. They're like, "Hey man, you want to cut your hair?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I mean, do you want anything to do with this?" I pointed my head.
You want this on your resume?
He kind of laughed and he goes, "Man, it'll grow back." I was like, "Yeah, yep. It will. Yeah, it'll grow back. It'll be all right."
It'll grow back. And what I love about it, because, and this is where, we get back to the cutting hair aspect as Black men, as men, to go into a place and to walk out and feel handsome and feel better about yourself. That's why the barbershop is so important. It's the meeting, it's the mental health, but it's also the place, the safety is also a place in which you walk out better.
Yeah.
And so to have these places in which you walk out and you feel better. Because oftentimes we go places and sometimes we could feel worse.
Yeah.
But we walk out the barbershop and we feel better as men, as Black men.
Yeah.
It's just a hallmark in our community.
That's amazing.
Love it.
All right. So let me ask you a couple questions about Black History Month. How should we be celebrating this, or how do we recognize it? Because we're, right now we're about halfway through February, and I'm reading articles, I'm reading up on it, I'm trying to educate myself on it, but also celebrate it. What are some ways that we could properly do it? Because I'm sure there's we get into that. There's some things we shouldn't be doing. But what are some best ways that we could recognize this month and celebrate it?
I definitely think supporting Black businesses in your local area is a great way to celebrate Black History Month, which also leads to seeking out Black history in your local area. It's almost twofold. Researching and understanding the history of Black people of color in whatever town across the United States you may live in, but also taking that next step and supporting these Black-owned businesses that should be highlighted during this time of Black History Month. And also, Black nonprofits. I think that's a great way to support, whether it be community nonprofits, community centers, healthcare facilities, any type of these Black nonprofits that are going in and doing community work, doing the work that most people don't want to do.
Yeah.
I think it's a great way to support, taking some of this, during this time of Black History Month and celebrating not only, of course, our heroes that we know, MLK and yada, 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 Harriet Tubman, but also celebrating some of the unsung heroes in Black history. There are so many people who are making Black history currently that we don't know about.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I got excited. I didn't mean to cut you off. No, I just wanted to point out, I was listening to something the other day, and it's like you mentioned a really good, obviously there were a lot of good points, but that was a really good point about we're so short-sighted with history, because it's like we base history on what we heard from so-and-so or learning whatever, but we base the present on what we know in our experience. They were talking right now, we think of Martin Luther King Jr. Everybody's like, how could you not love him? Amazing man, all this, peace. But I was listening to a story. It was like, he was one of the most hated men in America at the time.
Yeah.
And you made a great point. There are people making history right now for that there are people that, and they can't come out and say, well, I don't like what he's saying because it promotes Black people. But you know what I mean? There's people that don't like LeBron James for random stuff he talks about. I'm like, what are you mad about? The fact that he loves Black people and he says it? Does that hurt your feelings? And it's like, they have to guise this, whether it's conscious or unconscious racism towards people that have a voice that might not have traditionally had a voice. I don't know. It's interesting to me, that dynamic, and how we don't realize what part of the story we are and how it's going to be viewed 20 or 30 years from now.
Yeah, because, you bring up, Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther King Jr., he absolutely was hated at the time.
Yep.
And he had so much, who would want to be Martin Luther King Jr. in the 60s? The pressure that he was under. Insane. And so that's where even when it comes to, once again, Black history and American history, when we look at Martin Luther King Jr., it's almost as if he was elevated to the point in which his story can be told, unlike the others, but his story can only be told from a point of, I have a dream, and really from the place of comfort that I was speaking about earlier. Yep. Martin Luther King's story is told from a place of comfort. When we really need to talk more about the history, about how in his latter years, how he was uniting, of course, folks of color, people of color, but also he was getting poor white farmers to sort of see that, hey, your struggles are just the same, or they mirror that of the people of color, men of color, women of color in this country, and how he was pointing out the system of it all, as opposed to showing how it affects one group of people, how it affects all of us. And so, we can't tell history from a place of comfort, which goes back to how do we celebrate Black history, in which we have to do research. Yeah. We, as educators, as educated people, as people who live in this nation, we have to be willing to do research, read some Black literature, celebrate Black literature, go to the local library. Libraries are free. Check out some books and read and immerse yourselves in the culture. And also, I think a great way, probably my most favorite way, is to support Black creatives who are telling these stories. I know a lot of creatives who share their stories for free and share their experiences. And it's gut-wrenching because they really go through hell to tell the story, to relive the stories. Yeah. And so how can we support these creatives that are using their pain to create purpose for the rest of us?
Yeah.
That's good,
man. Are there things that we should avoid? There's got to be some don'ts out there. I don't know what are some things that people need to avoid, but you see somebody, you spot somebody make a post or say something or do something, you're like, I don't think that. No, you should definitely not do that. Or
I think racism. Probably avoid that, Neil.
Yeah, racism. Avoid that.
Try not to do that.
Yeah, try not to.
It's Confederate History Month. We'll celebrate it soon.
It's my heritage.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Gosh.
Yeah, be quiet. What are some things we should stay away from?
I definitely think, I have some do's and don'ts. I could, it's funny, things we should stay away from. I spoke on this earlier. Don't sugarcoat American history. Yeah. We have to grow past that notion of adding 2 scoops of sugar to 1 drop of American history. So let's grow past that and let's not sugarcoat American history. Yeah. Let's also not limit Black history to civil rights. That's if good. Every time we have to come up and celebrate Black history, we go back to the black and white photos, we're skipping over 60 years of people, of accomplishments, of pursuit, all in search of people like MLK who make us comfortable to celebrate Black history.
Wow.
And then we'll go back to Harriet Tubman. Let's go skip another 100 years.
Yeah.
Let's not hopscotch our way around Black history.
There's a lot of people in between those two.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple.
Yeah, for sure.
Just on Harriet's side alone, there's a couple.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think, you guys also brought up a good point. Don't only celebrate Black history in February. This should be almost a springboard. It shouldn't be just a month in which we say, hey, where is February 28th? And, it's not a leap year. It's no 29th. We can just go right back to, no, this should be a month of inspiration that springboards you throughout the year. Black history should be celebrated throughout the year. So don't just use the month of February as your I'm going to do good by Black people month. It's only 28 days, 29 on a good year. We can really stretch this out to 365, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say something dumb. Have you seen, Aaron, have you seen any of the TikToks that these high school kids are doing for Black History Month?
Yeah, okay. I have to admit, I am one of the few people who I'm not on TikTok.
Oh, that's okay. It's probably for the best. It's a mega time waster.
Yeah, it's a lot of time.
There's kids, they pop in my feed every now and then, and it's like these kids, I don't know. I'm sorry. teenagers, I'll just say this. I'm glad social media wasn't around when I was in high school because I was dumb.
I'd be in jail.
And these kids are so this generation don't care. They're going to do stuff they think is funny. And so they'll there was one and they said, celebrating Black History Month, and they were walking into class, and it was a white kid and a black kid, and the white kid took the black kid's bag off for him, and then picked him up and carried him across the room to his chair. And as he's walking by, the teacher takes a knee, and people start clapping for him, and they're getting his stuff out for him out of his bag.
Yeah,
it's just I don't know. These kids, I love that. I love when people can have fun with it and bring it up in a way like, hey, we're this is a joke, but also like we love each other. We're doing this because we love each other and we're in this together and we're friends. You know, I love that. And so instead of that generation, it's like awkward. Don't talk about it. Never address it. You know, I don't know.
It's exciting. It is exciting to see the younger generation talk about it, and I hope that the conversation continues.
Yes.
You know, oftentimes we get stuck on the steps as opposed to walking up the steps. Yeah. And so this is a great time to see at their age to be aware of Black history. Because it ties into almost a don't that I just thought of, where it's like, be authentic. Yeah. You don't project Black History Month if you don't want to protect Black History Month. Yeah. You know, don't just be about the part. Hey, I put up my sticker in the front of the store.
Yeah.
Be conscious about what you do. Yep. And about the community that you serve, about your friends that are around you. Show that level of enthusiasm that those kids are showing in TikTok, and really be about the effort of, in this case, just like your TikTok video, lifting each other up.
Oh, that's good, Eric. You took my joke and made it real.
Oh my gosh.
You get 10 points.
It's called a professional, ladies and gentlemen. That's who Aaron is.
I'm taking those 10 points. I'm using them later.
That's good.
So I've had a conversation with somebody about, let's call it a week ago, and I'm curious about this. Like, there's a huge opportunity right now. You obviously know President Biden is going to pick a Supreme Court justice that is a Black woman. He's got a list of those names, and you see the pictures, and you're like, okay, this is incredible. But there are people who, and I don't want to categorize people. I'm not going to do that. But they're like, hey, what about everybody else who could be in the running for that? What about other white women? What about other people? Like, is it not fair that they don't get a chance? And I literally stopped like in my tracks and went, no, it's always been fair for those white people and everyone else. Like, Thurgood Marshall obviously set this huge precedent, but that's to set something aside like that and to say, listen, this next Supreme Court justice is going to be a Black woman. What is your take on that? Because it makes me excited. Like, I'm proud of it, but I also don't know. Or is it like, are we treading on some thin ice with this, or no? I don't think we are, but I could be wrong.
I think in history, unfortunately, I think sometimes the atrocities in history, people are worried about repeating bad history. I think in this country, we've had a history of appointing white men to positions when there are other qualified candidates, and people fear that will happen in the reverse way, so that all of a sudden you look up and it's a whole Supreme Court of Black women inflicting pain upon white people. You know,
oh my gosh,
it's your fear. Yeah. And so but that's almost what happened to people of color.
It's exactly what happened. Only white dudes. That's all they're like, oh no.
What happened?
What would happen if it's only black women? Well, I don't know. You didn't do great with all white dudes. So gosh.
Yes, the tables have turned.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's great.
Yeah.
And so, but I think it's a wonderful opportunity, because Black women, and I say this affectionately as a Black man, there are hurdles that I have to get over. There's societal challenges that I have to get over, and yet I'm very conscious that the struggles and hurdles of Black women are higher than mine. And so, sometimes, yes, in this case, yes, you may need to promote someone to the Supreme Court who's a woman of color, because she probably may not get the opportunity, even though she's well qualified because of the color.
More than qualified, but just doesn't get the opportunity.
Qualified. Yeah. Yep. And so, and plus, I mean, Black women, when it comes to supporting, voting, leading charges and change in this nation, Black women should be applauded for all they sacrifice, not only historically, but more so highlighted in recent years. Everything they've done for this nation. So I'm all for it.
That's good. I love it. It's almost like it took somebody to stand up and say, listen, it's not that you're not qualified. We're going to give you the opportunity that you haven't had. I think that, like, just a chance to.
I just want to point out too, like, the people that say, like, what about the people that are more qualified? In saying that, you're assuming there's a long list of people that are better than the best black woman that could serve in that role. Like, you're essentially saying, like, oh, there's probably a lot of people that are probably already better. Like, why are you settling? Like, look, you could say that, and who's to say, like, oh, we didn't put, 12 black women in front, and then, like, oh, we switched to the white guy in the back, I don't know. It's just people's assumptions. It's ridiculous.
It's short-sightedness, but people are almost conditioned to be short-sighted.
Yes.
And that's where the research, that's where the knowledge of people actually researching Black history could say, hold up, no, this is not the way. Let me educate you and show you that there's a healthy alternative to this. Sometimes, you have to promote people because you have to open the door for someone because they won't get the door open. And we do that in life in general.
Yeah.
And so we should be looking for opportunities to help marginalized people or people who may not have the same privilege that we do, regardless of the skin color you have or your gender or your socioeconomic status. We should be looking to help other people up because, quite frankly, they deserve it. And it benefits the greater community. And so, yeah, I'm absolutely for it.
That's awesome.
Same.
Hey, so we do this thing on here, Aaron, and I know you know it. We do this little thing called 3v3. And because I know you talked a little bit about like celebrating different people, and it's like there are people before, after, and in between Harriet Tubman and Martin Luther King Jr. that we should be celebrating. So we do this thing called 3v3. Do you want to jump in this with us? Because what we're going to do is we're going to talk about who our 3 favorite people are, or at least 3 people that we want to celebrate, 3 Black people that we want to celebrate this month. Do you want to do it with us?
Absolutely.
Oh my
Absolutely.
gosh. All right. We're about ready to cue some incredible music. Here we go.
Welcome to the party, pal. This is 3v3.
I don't know if you can tell, Aaron, that was actually my footsteps and my voice on there. I was moving, playing the whatever instrument that was, and saying it. So
that's amazing.
I like to brag, but
you sounded incredible.
Thanks.
That made my heart.
Yeah, I'm like the triple threat, really.
Triple, quadruple.
I know.
Whoa.
I'm very tall too, like 6'6", 6'7", something like that. That's not true. I wish.
All right, so there are we each get to pick 3. And we're gonna pick 3 people, and we're gonna let people vote on who they think actually wins this 3v3. Like who picks 3 people, 3 and 3. Tyler, we always let Tyler go first.
No, you always say I go first, but you always go first.
Okay, Aaron, we're gonna let you go first. How about that? You get to pick somebody, tell us a little bit about him, and then why you think we should be celebrating him.
Oh my gosh. Okay, my first person is Malcolm X, and this may be somewhat of a typical name. But I like to highlight the life of Malcolm X because his life goes through so many transitions, from an early life of crime to being imprisoned to finding faith in the Nation of Islam. But then ultimately, after he was kicked out the Nation of Islam, finding his purpose and striving for the rights of humanity. And so his eyes opened after he was removed from the Nation of Islam. And it's an incredible story of transitions and growth in life. And so I'm highlighting Malcolm X.
Man,
it's a good choice.
That's not bad.
Neil, you're up.
Tyler, you want to go? Oh, you're going to let me go.
Oh my gosh,
wow.
Stop it. I always let you go first. Go ahead.
All right. So I'm going to, Hattie McDaniel is a name that you probably know who she is. She's the first, look, I'm a movie guy. I love cinema and all that kind of stuff. So she's the first Black performer to win an Oscar. She played in Gone with the Wind. She played the role of Mammy, but she actually won an Oscar for Best Supporting Actress. Here's what's crazy about her. She appeared in over 300 films, but she only received screen credit for 83 of them. She couldn't attend the premiere of Gone with the Wind because it was in a white-only theater in Atlanta. When she went to the Oscars in LA, they made her sit at a segregated table on the other side of the room. But this lady paved the way. She's the first one. There are 19 other people of color, Black people that have actually won Oscars after her. What she did, like she wasn't out there in the civil rights movement, but she worked really hard to be good at what she did. And when it came time and it was difficult, like to go through it, she didn't have to go to the Oscars. She didn't have to go, but she still went anyways. She realizes it's a tough road. I love that she was a great actress, but then she also took a stand when she needed to. It was, she's amazing.
Okay.
Love it.
Both of y'all's were really serious. So cool.
Oh, no. Get ready, Aaron. Get ready.
No, mine is, I don't know if y'all have heard of him. He's kind of like an underground, like kind of young. Actually, he's not young anymore, but he was a little less than well-known basketball player named Michael Jordan. And
MJ.
Yeah, okay. So, all right. So here's my thing with Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, he does some things different. Like there's stuff I like the way he did or didn't address, social stuff with regards to I love the way LeBron James addresses social stuff, but I know Jordan was a little quieter, and there's the joke about him saying, what is it? Republicans buy tennis shoes too, or something like that. But yeah. I love the fact that Jordan, didn't have to address it, but he won. And I'm not talking about championships. Every guy my age, probably within a 20-year time span, was borderline obsessed with Michael Jordan.
Oh, yeah.
Obsessed with him. So if you want to talk about winning, that dude did a sport so well that grown men like myself collect little rectangular pieces of cardboard with his face on it and pay money for it, is how obsessed we've gotten with him. And it's everybody loved the shoes. He pretty much won culture as a person. So you talk about culture drives so much of everything that happens in the world. He literally got everyone to be, so obsessed with him and everything that he did that he has driven culture. And he did it without a Twitter account. He did it without any of that. He just produced quality content, whether through playing basketball or shoes or clothing. And I don't know. He won in a different way than a lot of people win. And I don't know. I think that's pretty cool.
How are you going to go see Michael Jordan after? We were
I know
you went to
serious.
The GOAT. You went straight to the GOAT.
There. I'm sorry. No, my list only goes up, just so you know.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, okay. All right.
Would you fan out if you met Michael Jordan? Do you think you would lose your...
Aaron, I cannot express to you. I would pee on myself immediately. I would stand there. I'd be so nervous. I would stutter. I would be something he made fun of to his friends later, because I would I get moderately starstruck now as is, either turn into a complete weirdo or, that's actually my only option. And I would. He'd be like, that's a weird guy. He'd think something's wrong with me. But yes is the answer. That's very amazing. Bad. I'd hug him.
I love it.
I'd hug him. I'm sorry. I'd hug him. I know he's taller than me, but I'd jump up and be like, hold me. Take me there, bud.
All right, you're up next, Aaron.
I want to be like Mike.
Absolutely. No question.
Yeah.
All right. So I have two names I'm looking at here, but I'm going to go with an unlikely person who I think is overlooked because she is in the shadow of greatness. And that is Venus Williams.
Whoa. Venus Williams.
Venus is overlooked by, of course, her sister, Serena.
Yep.
The greatest women's tennis player, or some can even say the greatest tennis player of all time. But Venus Williams has an incredible life of being the trailblazer. Reading her story and seeing the trials and tribulations she had to go through as the older sister, and in some ways taking the brunt of the of the weight for her younger sister so that she could thrive in greatness. Venus has an amazing story, and also just everything that she did for women's pay on the WTA circuit.
Yep.
She was really a champion for equal pay, because for a long time, and even somewhat currently, the women's tennis players were carrying the whole sport of tennis for years.
Yeah.
As a tennis fan, I can attest to that. And so Venus Williams, although overlooked, she has a story that should be told because she's a pioneer in her own right.
Yep. Yeah.
Did you see King Richard? I'm sorry, Neil. Have you seen King Richard?
I have not. I'm behind in my movies a bit.
Oh, it's good.
So I've heard it's great.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Neil, you were saying it's really good. I recommend it.
Yeah, I've heard it's great. What's wild too is you see, a lot of times what we do is we celebrate the spotlight or when the moment gets there, but there's a lot of people that got them there. And I think about that, like equal pay. That's not something that we celebrate. We have to learn how to celebrate things a little bit differently. That's a massive milestone that a lot of people reap the benefits of, but don't realize how we got there. Yeah. Yep. That's awesome.
Good. Neil?
Man, I want to say LeBron because you said
no. I was going to say LeBron, but I took him off because I was like, I can't do 2 basketball players. That's
okay.
Rude.
I love LeBron. I'm actually going to say LeBron, and for the reason for it is not just the sports and all that kind of stuff, but it's what LeBron does outside of the basketball court.
I promise school, all of it. It's incredible.
All of it. And his humble beginnings. But then, okay, I would say very similar to Venus, the amount of pressure on his back, on his shoulders from high school.
Yes.
All the way through, but to still be doing it well. Like he hasn't finished the race. He's still running. He's probably going to play for another few years. Wait till Bronny gets in there. But I just think for a lot of people, for them to see, yes, he's a good athlete, but he is so much more than that. I got to go with that.
That's good.
Just a kid from Akron.
Yeah, absolutely. I second that. Absolutely.
That's solid. Okay.
Tyler,
that too.
One up us all.
Well, no. You know who I was going to say Denzel Washington.
No
I love Denzel Washington.
You could have did Scottie Pippen.
You know what? Then I'd had to go Dennis Rodman for the third one. I guess. What if my third was Tony Kukoc? I'm kidding.
Oh my God.
I'm joking. I was gonna say Denzel, but you know what? I'm gonna go somebody off of the I'd go to pop culture. So I'm gonna go Emmanuel Ocho. I really love his book that he wrote. Uncomfortable Conversations with the Black Man is one of my favorite books of all time, and I wish it was required reading for every human on planet Earth. And so I just love what he does and how he's willing to address things. And that's the thing, like, I could say things from my perspective. Aaron, you can say some from yours. Neil can say, we could all say it from our perspectives. I love how he talks about everything and like, he does it in a way where it's blunt, but it's not rude. Does that make sense? Like the way he says it, because I'm very bad about being blunt. And it comes off very rude, and people like shut down from it because I talk really fast and I get really snarky. And so I just love the way he articulates everything in a way that I don't know. It's just with respect, because that's the thing too. I find like, especially like a lot of the like I choose to hang around white people. The way people I say that let me finish that sentence. I choose to hang around white people who are cool. You know what I mean? Like if they weren't cool, I wouldn't hang out with them. But it's like, a lot of the teachers that I've worked with, like if they're a white teacher, it's like they want to get better at all the stuff we've talked about. It's just they're nervous that they're going to screw it up or say it wrong. Aaron, you and I have talked about this. We talked about it for that teacher thing that we did together. And it's like, I think they want to do well, but they're scared. And it's like, I recommend the book to everybody. And I recommend it to somebody. And they just said, their response was, I love how he talked about it. And it's almost like he corrected me, but in like a loving way. You know what I mean? And it's like, just the way he did it was really well. And so, I don't know. That's it. I love his book. It's great.
Love it.
Aaron, bring it.
All right. Man, I'm looking to have 2 names here. Okay. So if I do one name, can I give a shout out after this?
Yeah, sure. I gave Denzel.
This is your podcast.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want, bro.
All right. I'm going with Miss Angela Davis.
Ooh, good choice.
Who is an incredible, author, educator, political activist, philosopher, scholar. She is everything that you will want a leader to be. And I say that because in the 1960s, of course, when during civil rights, they had to go back there. But she, in my mind, she is one of the voices of women during that time. And not only of women during during not the 60s or 70s, but she is, to tell the point of view of the civil rights movement from the eyes and heart of a woman, is a different point of view than what you'll hear from Martin Luther King and from Malcolm X. And when people read over her story, including her, being in jail and accused of murder, and her willingness to take on the government as an educator, but her willingness to fight the government not only for her life but for the lives of others. Yeah. Her courage is remarkable. And so Angela Davis gets my vote because her strength, her mind, and her fight for better.
That's good, man. That's good. You got an honorable mention here too with you. Who do you got?
I do. Mark Lomax II. All right. Now, no one knows who Mark Lomax is.
Yeah, I just looked at Tyler. I was like, wait a minute. I don't know this one.
Yeah. So Mark Lomax is a colleague of mine who, and I recommend, I normally don't give out websites because I think it's corny sometimes. You just throw stuff out there. But everyone look up Mark Lomax II. He created this wonderful piece of music that composes the years of between 1619 and 2019 that tells a story of African and African American people in this country.
I'm looking at it right now.
There is a curriculum for all the educators that are listening to this. There's a free curriculum on top of the 12 albums that he composed.
Come on.
You can get the free curriculum and the 12 albums and the documentary all for free.
Wow.
And I'm saying that because when you listen to the music, you talk about music that stirs you. To listen to the first track and you literally feel like you're back in Africa, and the emotions of the songs, and then it transitions to the middle passage and the instruments played in the middle passage, and it's an incredible musical journey that takes you to so many places. So Mark Lomax II. 400 in African Epic. Everyone check that out. He gets my honorable mention, but also he should mention he's Black history.
Yeah,
that's good.
I mean, my goodness. Okay, so the website is Mark Lomax, Lomax with II.com. So Dr. Mark Lomax II. Yeah, we'll put that on our show notes, right? Don't we have notes that we can do, like where we actually put extra content?
We could.
We'll do it.
We don't.
We could.
Neil, I'm barely going to put the videos up, so let's not put too many expectations on Tyler.
Gosh,
that's
best. Awesome. I'm going to listen to that. That's amazing. My third one is everybody knows this guy, Guion Stewart Bluford II. Tyler's not.
Sentence and definition, please.
That's all right. So he's the first black man in space.
Cool.
You guys know I absolutely geek out about space. So in 1983, he flew the first of 4 space shuttle missions. He's logged over 700 hours in space. He really paved the way for every black person after him. But what's wild is NASA and the Space Administration and everybody going forward with going to the moon and to Mars have all agreed that one of those people that will set foot on the moon and also on Mars will be black.
That's dope.
Without Guion, there's no chance. And also, how about that name? How would you not walk into hey man, what's your name? Guion Stewart Bluford II. That's just incredible.
That's
a rich name.
Yes, it is.
Story behind that name.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
that's clean.
Tyler, bring us home.
Okay, my third. Last but not least, I would say, like I said, I'm revving up some goats, and so mine is actually, I'm in education, so I'm gonna choose someone who is an educator but also a creator, and he produces a lot of content. It's incredible. His name's Aaron Whitfield.
No,
he's on mine. That's right, boy.
Look at this guy. I made it.
That's how we know.
That's good. Oh my gosh. So, hey, listen, if you guys are following on Instagram, Aaron J. Whitfield is, we'll put that out there as well.
And just so you know, the name of this section is called 3v3. I'm going to put my 3 in a 3v3 basketball game. I'm going to put my 3 with Denzel as my reserve against any 3 y'all throwing out there.
So you're telling me with LeBron, I'm not going to be able to.
I forgot you had LeBron.
Thank you. Yeah. Good job.
Yeah. Aaron's got him locked down. Okay, just so you know.
Aaron, you got to guard him.
Yeah, I got him.
Okay,
you know what I'm saying? I'm a kid from Springfield, so yeah.
There it is.
My man.
All right, our last segment here, one of our favorites, Will It Rock?
The question on everyone's mind, will it rock? The answer is probably yes.
Okay, Aaron, so this is, what we've done is in this section that we do every podcast starting in season 2, is we take the greatest actor in humankind, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and we try to apply him to whatever topic we're talking about and say, would this topic, would this situation be better or worse if Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, the first, got involved? And I guess how this would apply to it. Neil, you did the research on us. I don't want to cut you off.
I did a little bit of research.
He does his own research. So there you go.
So what we're trying to figure out is, like, we always come back and we're like, all right, what would Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson do? But you start typing in, is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in Google, one of the first things that comes up after that is he black? And people ask that question, and I actually had to do a little bit of research on it. So, because his mother is Samoan, that's what everybody knows him for. Like every Fast and Furious movie, he's out. You know, he's
got a tattoo.
He's got a tattoo.
It says it.
Yeah, he doesn't say
regrets.
I'm Samoan.
I'm just kidding. That's a different movie.
It doesn't. But what I didn't realize is his father is Black Nova Scotian. So he's a descendant of the African Americans who left the U.S. at the end of the American Revolution. So the British and they're African Americans that left at the same time. Brits went back to the U.K. and there is a pocket of Black citizens that were in the United States that went to Nova Scotia because they knew that if they stayed, things were going to go different for them.
I like how you said after the American Revolution. So it's like they were here and they were like, okay, well, let's see what happens when they get there. And they're like, hold. And they go, all right, what did he write? All men are created equal. Okay, cool. Yeah. Keep reading. Yeah. All right, I'm out. Pass. At first, they're like promising and pass.
Yeah. So,
sheesh.
Aaron, I don't know. Have you ever thought? Did you know whether he's Black or not?
I think he is. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like 50. It's like 50%. Yeah. Oh yeah, he is, and proud of it. But he embraces that Samoan as well. 100%. So yeah, it's hilarious.
He put the Hobbs in Hobbs and Shaw.
Listen, I mean, he's representing Nova Scotia, which is, I do a bit about the history of Nova Scotia. But now that, they can claim the Rock. I mean, that's big for the dude.
Yeah, that's not bad.
So. He is to them as Ryan Reynolds is to Canada. I can't even talk. I'm so excited about saying that.
Oh my gosh. Last question for you, Aaron, as we go here. This is random. This is only for me personally. This might not even make the show. It will, because we're not going to edit it.
Yeah, we're not going to edit
this. So the hashtag BHM, Black History Month, is that okay to use?
Absolutely.
Okay. Absolutely. I see people do it. Somebody said something about it. They're like, man, I don't know if you can say that. I'm like, what are you talking about? You
Birmingham Airport.
BHM.
Yeah.
It's okay to use, right?
It's okay to use because it's because you're spreading a message. And I think, you're never going to make everybody happy. But as an educator, as a person, it's wonderful to spread the message to people who I may not be able to reach. To people who may hear it better from you. And also just to show your support. So absolutely, in my eyes, hashtag BHM is perfect. It's great to use. And so, continue to do it.
Okay.
Dope. Love it. Hey, thank you so much for being on here, Aaron. For real. Thank you. You took an hour plus of your day. We try to make every episode 20 minutes. We haven't done that in about 70-something episodes. Don't believe a
word he's saying.
Really appreciate you, for real, being on here and taking the time to do this. It meant a lot to us.
I learn from you every time around you, man.
Thank you, guys. And, y'all mean the world to me. And so, like I said, we're going to come out to Arkansas and put on 20 pounds of brisket and
breakfast,
and
lunch, and dinner.
I'll be good to go.
We got it. We'll do it.
Dessert.
We'll
do dessert. All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Aaron.
Thanks, Aaron. We'll see you.
All
right, bye.
Later.
Gosh, I like that guy.
Oh, Aaron's solid. I love the dude.
Legit.
So good.
Well, at Aaron J. Whitfield is where he's at. He is he's an educator. It's the reason why he mentioned the library. It's words. That's what I have. I'm saying is words. The library. He worked the library as an educator after school with an extremely culturally diverse group of students, and he's amazing. So I love him.
It were 2 sessions he did with me last summer for I did those 30-something PDs online. And I did one on diversity in education, and he came in and we did a talk. We talked for an hour. It was great. I could have talked to him for days.
Yeah, I could.
It was fantastic. And he had a lot of really good stuff he threw in there for educators. So if you're a teacher or educator, definitely check that out. And if you can't find it, just email me and I'll get it to you. And then he also was on the Baller Teacher Conference.
Yeah, he was.
And so you recorded with him because you were living in Ohio. So you recorded with him, recorded him, and then you recorded yourself. Who was the guy you kept yelling at that was cutting the grass?
Jimmy. Jimmy. It's not his name, but he was cutting the grass.
It was so good. Yeah, thanks for doing that, by the way.
You're welcome.
Yeah, check's in the mail.
Thank you. Did you send it to Ohio?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going.
Aaron, when you're listening to this, if you don't mind, go to get my check.
Yeah,
it's in Ohio.
I need to send Aaron a check too.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Okay. Well, thank you guys so much for listening.
Educate yourself.
Yeah, and you know what? I'd also like to thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Yeah. Bye.
Brr. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
Brr.
Thanks for listening to the Explain Everything podcast. You can follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at Explain Everything Podcast. We're on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, but you're already here. We love you. No, actually, we're in love with you. Thanks for coming on our TED Talk. Bye.